Hi friends, welcome to the tutorial 2 of IoT. Here, as a continuation of what you saw in tutorial 1, which gave an overview of MQTT, and then we use the Hive MQ, which is a cloud service where we ran a broker of MQTT, and then we use the windows to access the broker either as a publisher or as a subscriber. So we had multiple windows with having multiple topics on which we were sending messages from the publisher and then receiving those messages on subscriber, which was running on Windows client, and our broker MQTT broker was running on HiveMQ, which is on the cloud that we could access it from Windows machine. That tutorial is also available on YouTube. In case if you have missed it, please go through them so that you get a better idea of what is MQTT and then how to configure the Windows client using Mosquitto, which we are using in this tutorial also, and then how we could set up our own broker on the HiveMQ by creating an account. Then we use that for communicating with the publisher and subscriber. Now, in this tutorial, what we are going to see is we are going to use two ESP32 boards as sensors. Here, we are not going to sense anything, but actually we are controlling the LEDs on this ESP32 board. This ESP32 is connected to my Windows machine using the micro USB cable, and it draws power also from the USB port. And it also has a Wi-Fi, so it connects to my home Wi-Fi network, so that through Wi-Fi it reaches the internet. Now, these ESP32 boards are going to behave like a client. It is going to do both publishing as well as subscribing job. I will explain you what they do. And on the cloud, we have still HiveMQ, where the broker is running. And then on Windows machine, we are going to have publisher, which is going to give some commands to control the ESP32 board. That's going to be our focus in this tutorial. I will explain you exactly what is going to be demonstrated. So we will learn what is going to be done in this tutorial, and to do that, how do we make the ESP32 ready for accessing the broker which is running on the HiveMQ. What are the prerequisites? I expect you to have the Arduino Genuine IO IDE, which works with the ESP32 board. Of course, you should have one ESP32 board at least. Though I'm going to show demonstration with the two sensors, you could still do the experiment with only one board. You don't need to have two boards to actually try out whatever is there in this tutorial, but you need one ESP32 board, of course. It could be any board, need not be the board that I am using. I will tell you when I am showing you the IDE. Now quickly I will give you the architecture which I explained some time back. We have two boards. These are the dev kit version 1. It has a Wi-Fi, built-in Wi-Fi. The antenna is here, so it could communicate with the home Wi-Fi what I have. Both of them are connecting to the broker through the internet, because this Wi-Fi provides internet access. I have already loaded the program onto these boards, which understands where exactly this HiveMQ is, what is its domain or the host name, and what are the registered username and passwords of IoT device, because these two are IoT devices and they need to have some client ID. Each of them are going to have some client ID, and then they are going to send a message to the server, which is where the broker of MQTT is running. So it has to communicate both the IoT device username and password as well as its own client IDs on the address given where the broker is running. So if everything goes well and it has to do a TLS, and then this is waiting on 883 port. So it will be able to connect to this. Now I have a Windows machine as I shown here. Instead of connecting to the home Wi-Fi, I made sure that I am connecting to my mobile net data so that it is not on the same network as our IoT devices are, so that we will be simulating exactly what we claim that it does. Now, let me explain. The broker is running there over TLS. We have a subscriber. It is also behaving like a publisher. So this is a sensor 1. So it is subscribing to the topic sensor 1 control. I want to be controlled using this particular topic. So anybody, any publisher running on any other machine anywhere in the world, if they know the credentials of this device, the HiveMQ broker host name, then they will also be able to communicate with the same broker. And this also can be considered as an IoT device from the broker perspective. Though it is performing the control operation, it could be some control application running on the machine on Windows itself or somewhere else, maybe another controller running on an embedded system. So this will be sending some commands. Now, before I show, these are the two topics on which SNS2 is communicating. Now, the publisher could be running on this machine, controlling both the sensors, one after the other. And as I mentioned, both the sensors are sending information as publisher. They also send it to the same broker, but they do it on different topic. So they get controlled using this topic. So we can specifically control these sensors, and they send their status with their own client ID information to somebody who is interested in knowing the status of these sensors, whether it is alive or not. So they send every 5 seconds a message, which is received by this subscriber. There is one more client running on the Windows machine where I will show you how it receives the status from both the clients. This publisher message also goes, I am not showing it here, which also goes here and then lands here, who has subscribed for it. Similarly, this publisher message also goes to the HiveMQ and then gets received by subscriber, because this knows that this particular machine has registered for that message. So if it receives it, it will send it to them. So that is the job of the broker. Now what happens if I want to control this? What is the control I want to do? Maybe the LED on this, I want to make it blink fast or slow or switch off or switch on. That kind of operation I want to do. So I do it using this channel, this topic. Specifically, if I want to switch off this, then I use this and then say off. If I am interested in switching on this LED, I use this topic and then say on. Now, whatever is the command I send, it goes here to the subscribers by the broker. SNS sensor 2 commands are coming here and sensor 1 commands will be going there. So now let us see what is required here. As I mentioned, the publisher always makes one TCP connection, sends a command and then this gets disconnected. So there is no consistent TCP TLS connection between the publisher and the broker. Whereas the subscribers need to be connected always, because we don't know when the message is coming from publisher. So this connection is always existing between the broker and the sensor. Now, what if there is some noise or the Wi-Fi has gone down or maybe the server has gone down? No, the TCP connection will be gone. Then we need to have the software running on this to periodically check the connection is still alive or not. If it is not there, it will try to connect again with the credentials that we have already set it up with. So this software which is running on these devices, as I mentioned, they are all running in a noisy environment. So it's not guaranteed that the connection will always be there, though it is expected to be there. But if it gets disconnected, it will again retry and connect it to the server. It will keep doing it. Okay. So now what if a command has gone from here, multiple commands, and then this sensor doesn't even know what was the last command. So that is the reason -R option the publishers can make use of, so that even if the sensor goes out of the network for some reason, the last message that was sent from the publisher, the controller, I call this as a controller, which is controlling both the sensors. So the last message from both the topics can be logged here. Minus R is a retain option. If we have a retain option, we will be able to pass on the command even if the sensor was out for a while when this command was given by the controller. So this is a typical example, a scenario how a IoT device, it need not be only one device, it can be multiple devices. They all can also be subscribing to the same topic also. In that case, then all of them will be controlled in a similar way. But if you want to control specifically, then they need to subscribe on different topics so that the controller can specifically send a message on each of those topics, which will could be retained based on the condition of the sensors, or if it is already connected, then immediately it will be passed on to the sensor. So this is how a typical IoT network can be controlled using the beautiful protocol MQTT. It doesn't expect too much of power to be supplied by those IoT devices, and it doesn't expect the Wi-Fi network or even the internet connection to be perfect. Even then, the whole thing can still work and the IoT devices can perform accordingly. Now, what if a condition where it permanently gets disconnected? Then we need to make sure that the software running here takes care of that kind of a condition and then brings the device to a safe condition. Suppose if it was made to run faster, the engine, if it is controlling the engine and it is made to run faster by the command coming from the controller, and suddenly it loses the control with the network, finally that means that it will not even get any more command. So it can bring down the motor to a normal speed, or making sure that it can control it with its own knowledge and expecting no command from the other end. So that needs to be taken care of in the software that you write here based on these conditions. So you always, the software that runs on these devices need to understand that it can get lost and it can be on its own when there is no Wi-Fi signal, there is a power outage. Maybe this device may be running on a battery power backup, but Wi-Fi needs little more power. If there is a outage of power and the Wi-Fi goes out, the router is not working, then this device needs to be on its own and make sure that the system it is controlling is brought to the normal situation wherein it is safer to operate. Before I go into the demonstration of what we do, I just want to tell you how to keep your IDE ready for writing the software that I'm going to show. That will be anyway shared with you through GitHub. You can download that and compile it and then upload it onto the ESP32 board you have, and you can perform the same operation using your own instance of broker running on HiveMQ. Now, to do that, you need to have a library which is to be added to your Arduino IDE. So this is the library that we need. This ESP-MQTT client needs this library also. In fact, in our demo, we are going to be using this object created using this class. So make sure that you install all, not only this client. The reason is I want to connect to the HiveMQ here, and we need a TLS connection. And for providing that connection, we need to pass on the user ID of IoT devices, password, and then CA certificate, a whole lot of things which I explained in the tutorial 1 needs to be done here. And this library has all the APIs which we can use it for our demo. Also has the capability to connect to the broker of MQTT. We can do it with the 1883, which is the plain MQTT protocol running, whereas this is the secure MQTT TCP connection. So make sure that at least for running our demo that I am going to show here, you need this library also to be installed. And you can finally see that it is installed. Then you are ready to go. Now, before I go and show you the application demo, as you are aware, the ESP32 has 2 cores. This is extension of X6 microprocessor running at 240 megahertz. Both the cores are running in parallel. and it has got already FreeRTOS ported onto this board. So there is a task mechanism wherein you can decide to have a task specifically run on a particular core. This also has, as I mentioned, of course, it has a Wi-Fi and then Bluetooth, and it has a 4 MB of flash wherein our code will be uploaded into, and it has got 520 kilobyte of SRAM where the memory RAM is available, and it also has 448 kilobyte of ROM. We won't be using that for our demo here. You can get more details of this. I will also share some PDF and links, references wherein you can read more about it. Now, one important thing we should remember here is the memory, whatever is available, the memory space in the board, ESP32 board, is mapped to the same address from both the core. When I say map, if as an application running on this core sends out an address, memory address, maybe 200x, and this is also sending out an address 200x, then they will be accessing the particular location which is same from both the cores. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether your program is running on this core or this core, they will, whatever based on the whatever address it generates, it will be pointing to the same location on the memory. Now, how is it going to impact your code running on this cores? Now, suppose a global variable you have declared, which I have done a command, which is actually new command. I am using this variable to hold the command that it has received from the broker. So this variable is going to be accessed from both the cores, and it will be in the same location, one copy of that, and which will be referred from both the task running on this cores. It will be able to get the value, whatever is stored there. Now, let us see what am I doing here. This core 0 is supposed to be for protocol. That means if it has to access the Wi-Fi, the protocol stack of Wi-Fi and the TCP IP stack, all that protocol needs to be run on one core. We identify the core 0 as the place wherein the task which is handling the communication with the Wi-Fi, in turn the TCP IP stack, is running on this core. The reason is the connection to the Wi-Fi IP, the phi of Wi-Fi, is accessed from this core, and it is optimized for accessing those communication devices from this core. So if you run the protocol stack on this core, it will be more efficient than running on this. But it doesn't mean that you cannot run those tasks on this core, but still it will be inefficient. So it is preferred that your protocol stack related tasks activities are done on a task which is scheduled to be run on this core. Now, how do I make sure that a task is running on this core? There is a facility that I mentioned, that FreeRTOS is already ported, pinned to a core. You are pinning a task to a particular core ID, that using that API will be making sure that the protocol task is running on this core. Now, what do I run here? This is an application code which is controlling, in this case, an LED, built-in LED. So we are receiving a command, switch off, on, or blink fast or blink slow. That command is coming from the broker through the Wi-Fi network into this protocol stack. So, and this task is receiving the command, processes the command, and then puts the message, the final command. It is a command could be a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So a new command which is received is always written into a variable by this task based on what the publisher has sent it to the broker, and the broker has communicated to the subscriber. This device is a subscriber now. So the command what as a publisher, a controller has sent it, it is coming here, and it is received by this task, and it is getting updated here in a variable. Now the main task, the job is to keep on verifying whether any new command has come from the publisher. So since these two cores are parallelly running, we can have both the tasks running in parallel, and they may sleep for some time or continuously check whatever may be the requirement. We can plan it accordingly, and this checks whether a command has come. Then it processes the command and then controls the LED. So this is how the whole thing happens, and the code that I explained you will be able to appreciate better. But once you have an overview of how the whole thing is working, it will be easier for you to comprehend it. The reason why I explained so much in detail is I don't want you to just run this code that I have given you. The goal is to use this code as a starting point and make changes, add new features, or even modify the whole thing to do something else for your project. So you should know how I can make use of this setup, that the framework that I have given you, to adapt it to the application that you want to. To do that, you should understand the code perfectly and the basic operation of how things work overall, and in fact, how the memory is organized and how tasks are getting scheduled. All this knowledge is required if you want to really modify it and make it run on the hardware. Otherwise, a small change in the code may break down everything. It's not easy, but once you understand the basic flow, you need to read more about the ESP32 and then FreeRTOS related uh, syntax and the scenarios, and modify the code. Make sure that you do one at a time and upload it to the hardware and verify it. This is how we can start applying and are adding more features to the existing code. And one important thing I want to highlight, the code area or the data area that you have on this board or any embedded board is limited. It's not infinite. So you need to change your code, add features such that it doesn't even cross this, because if it crosses the finally the tool will not generate the executable, because the linker will know that the memory that is needed for your code and the data is much more than what the hardware can support. So it will fail at the linking level, wherein the amount of memory that your program needs is much more than what is supported in the hardware. So then you may have to change the hardware. Instead of 4 MB, there is the ESP32 board with 8 MB, which you can use it. Or if you can modify the code such a way that you can still use this board, whatever you have, then you can go ahead and do it. So all this you have to keep in mind when you write application for embedded system. Okay, this is the command which is coming in and it gets used by this application task. So I hope this has given you a good overview of what is happening in the application. Now what I plan to do is I'll show you the demo and then we will go into the code, understand the code. Then because if you see the working code, the output of the code, then look at the code, it will be easier for you to make sense out of it. Okay, now you see that there are two ESP32 boards, and this is the sensor 1 and this is the sensor 2. Right now they are both blinking at the rate of 1 second. This is a default speed, the blinking rate of both the boards. Now what I have done is I have already loaded the program, which I will be showing you shortly, and they are running there on the board. Currently they are also connected to the broker, which is HiveMQ. So sensor 1 and sensor 2 both are connected to the home Wi-Fi, and it goes to internet and then goes to the HiveMQ. It is already connected. As I mentioned, the topics are, I'll show you. Now, what I want to do now, I want to give some commands. What are the commands I have? On, off, blink, fast, blink, slow. So these are the command: on, off, blink, fast, blink, slow. Now, what is the rate? Blink slow is some 3-second period. Blink fast is 100 millisecond or 200 millisecond. On, off, So this is the LED that we are trying to control, not this red LED. Red LED shows that the board is up and running. And this is the built-in LED we are trying to control through a broker. Left side window, top window is the Let us call it as a publisher. This all they're all command prompts running on this Windows machine. I am connecting this through another network, mobile network, not through the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is this, which is used for the ESP32, which is shown here. So to make sure that they are not on the same network. Okay. Now, what is the command? As you are aware, the command is mosquito publisher. Because I want to write a publisher here, -h. We need to know the HiveMQ. Let me show that HiveMQ is running. So this is the HiveMQ which is running. So I can take this value directly from here. So I have taken the host name, and then as you are aware, we need to give the username, which I have set it as Mowgli IoT. We have to give a password for our IoT device. Now, even this publisher needs to use this because they are all for the same application. Now, what more we need? CA file we need. The path is, and the file name is, I have already downloaded that PEM file, which I'm going to use it. Sensor. Now this I want to control sensor 1 from this particular window. So topic is SNS1 CTRL. Now what is the message? Now you see that the default sensor 1 is also blinking at a rate of 1 second, and sensor 2 is also blinking at a rate of 1 second. So let us now, message is switch off. I want to switch off the sensor 1. Now you can see that sensor 1 is off, and this is still continuing. Now, before I go further, I want to explain here what you will be noticing it. Both of the devices are still running. Even though the LED is off, it is not that this completely switch off. It is still running, and both the sensors are sending the messages by every 5 seconds that I am alive. So this is the running serial count, goes up to 10 and then it gets reset to know that it is, you are getting a new updated value every time. Okay. So the running count need not be same because there are two different software running at two different level time I have uploaded it. So both of them are sending a message. Now, who is receiving it? In this window, let me show you who is receiving it. It's a subscriber because it has subscribed for a message coming from the publishers. Now the sensors are behaving like a publisher. As I said that it is going to send a status. Same device can behave like a publisher as well as a subscriber. So it is subscribing to the control commands and then publishing on a particular topic on its own state. So the status topic is -t SNS status. The last line you can see that word -t SNS underscore status. And same credential, same CA file, and the same host name of the broker. Okay. So once I do this, it will be receiving the status from both the devices because both of them are sending to the same topic. So it receives from both. Now I switched off this. So let us switch off the sensor 2 also. So let me use the same command. Now what is that I need to change? If I need to change the control the sensor 2, I should make sure that it is sensor 2 control. The rest of the input will be same. The command input are same. Now I gave the command sensor 2. Now this also is off. Now how do I know whether the command are going properly or not? Can I also check what commands are getting delivered to these boards? That you can do by subscribing to the same topic. I want to make this particular client window to subscribe for sensor 1 control. So whatever is the command which is internally going, we are saying this, and which is going to the device, I can also monitor it here. It doesn't matter because the broker will deliver it to as many clients that they have registered for. It doesn't restrict that. It will share it with everyone. The devices also have registered for the message, and then I can also register from this client. So let me do that. Similarly, let us subscribe it for the other sensor control here. Now both of them are waiting similar to our devices. Now let us do one thing. Let us send a message that I want this device to blink fast. Now you see that blink fast command is received by this guy. Similarly, it would have gone here also. And our IoT device, which is on the Wi-Fi network, has received that, and now it is blinking fast. Whereas this is off. So let us now make this also blink fast. Now you see that the command is received and this is blinking fast. So this is how we are controlling it. But this publishing is happening in parallel. So everything is in parallel. So now I want to just say on, no blinking. Now this is just switch on. No, I don't want any blinking to happen. Similarly, I can say that this also goes on to on, then it will be on. Now, it's not that both of them need to follow the same command, or doesn't matter. So I can say blink slow here. So blink slow is every 3 seconds, it is going to switch on the LED. You can see that blink slow is much slower than the normal rate of 1 second. So this I can make it blink fast, go back to blink fast. So they are independent, as you can understand that they are running, two software is running, though the same image of almost same code, which is running on both the code with a little bit of change. I will tell you what is the change required. And they are processing these commands. One is blink fast and one is blink slow. So now what if I send a wrong message? Can I be always right? I can also make some mistake. I am sending some a random message. What happens? Now you see this. I did a wrong message here. It went to a default blinking rate of 1 second. So always make sure that the user may make a mistake. The IoT device or whatever software you write, it comes to a known state, not that it goes into some unknown state and makes something wrong. So if you receive, if this IoT device receives a wrong command, it goes back to the normal 1 second rate. So that's how we can make it reliable. Even if there is an input error, we will not make the software misbehave. So both of them are now into default state. Now we can, because I gave a wrong command. I hope this you got it. This is receiving the status continuously. I have demonstrated all the commands. Now you are ready to look at the actual code so that you will know how this whole thing works. Okay, let us now look at the code. Let me explain what are the files in this project. This is, before I go into the details, this is a directory wherein all the files related to this project are there. This is the INO file wherein normally you write a setup code and then you need to write loop function, which is a standard way of invoking a code in the Arduino IDE, which is running on the board anyway. And this is about the MQTT task, which is running on the protocol core, which is core 0. And this application task, which is there, is running on core 1. And I made sure that we capture the different details on different header files. The broker CA file is to be given to the ESP32 because it is going to use that for encrypting the data which is going on the network. So they need to have the CA certificate. I need to somehow feed that content of that certificate into the program. I will explain how it is done. And then broker details like IoT login, user password, username, password is captured here. And the Wi-Fi credentials of connecting my Wi-Fi network, which you need to change it to connect to your network. Now let us go into those files and then understand the periphery before we come into the main code. Now this is the main code wherein the application is running. This is the source file. It is CPP file because this is a C++ compiler. The IDE is in the backend. It is using the C++ compiler for ESP32 based on what board you are choosing. I will talk about that. And then the header file is giving you the MQTT broker information, the CA certificate which has been given by the HiveMQ. Now you need to be very careful while editing this, creating this content. I'll tell you what you should do. This is the file that you have downloaded from the network. From the HiveMQ, you have downloaded this. Now, this is a continuous binary data which is shown as a 8-bit ASCII values, but UTF, it is a different encoding. This needs to be fed to your C code. Now, how do we do that? It has to be fed into an array, character array. You can use anything, but character array is a byte values. I'm calling it as a CA certificate, and then we need to include even the begin certificate because the internal library looks for the entire sequence so that it knows that this is the actual content that it needs to work on. It uses these contents finally to encrypt the data before sending it to the broker. Now, I cannot write it in a single line. I have to break it down into multiple lines. Now, these are all different strings. Now, these different strings are appended when you give them one after the other. That compiler takes care of it. The preprocessor will make sure that these are all put together as one string, as a CA certificate, because we are extending it by giving this, breaking it into multiple lines. So the whole file that you saw here needs to be converted like this. When you register with your HiveMQ for your own broker, your contents will be different from what I am showing here. So this will only work with my instance of HiveMQ, which may not be running when you are trying your code. So make sure that you register with the HiveMQ, get the CA certificate, and can take the contents line by line, what you have got here, exactly copy here and make sure that you add this and this at the end without making any changes to the any of these contents. Even one byte change could make your code, it will fail because this certificate will not be verified by the broker and broker will not allow this device to connect to the broker. So finally you will not be able to connect to the broker which is running on HiveMQ if you make any change, make any mistake here in doing this conversion. So this is one important thing you should know what to do. Then I have given this password and the username which we gave it in the command line also. That is also needed because when it is sending the packet, it will be embedded into the packet before going into the broker because it is all going from the ESP32. Remember, it's not from the command line. So it has to create a similar command prompt or a packet which will have all this information before going into the broker. So this needs to be embedded. So we will be using this in creating the packet to be sent to the broker. So this will be used for establishing the connection. So during the connection phase, the software running on the ESP32 will make use of it to send the credentials to the broker so that it knows that the IoT device is a reliable one, and that is the device which it has to communicate whatever it receives from the publishers. So this is very much needed because broker does not know whether the IoT device which is subscribing for a particular message is genuine or not. Otherwise, somebody can subscribe for the message and try to get what you are doing. In case if you are controlling a serious installation which is very secure and secret, it will be exposed. What are the commands you are feeding to the controller? It will be known to others. So nobody else who is not authorized to get the messages should not be subscribed for a particular topic. So these are all required to make sure that only a genuine subscriber is allowed by the broker. So this is the controls which are making sure that a reliable subscriber is allowed. Now we need to talk to the Wi-Fi. So we need a Wi-Fi credentials, and my own Wi-Fi credentials are down. Obvious reasons I don't want to share that here. So these two are commented off just to tell you that this is what you need to do. Make sure that you edit it properly, and of course if you are to remove, I will make sure that when I'm sharing the code, I will leave this with the empty values so that you can fill it up with the actual value. Okay, this code will be shared with you. Now I hope you understood the Wi-Fi and the credential that is used by this client code which is running on ESP32, the information about the username and password while it is creating a connection with the IOMQ, and the CA certificate which is sent along with the, it's not that it is sending the CA certificate, it is using the CA certificate to encrypt it, and then the broker is going to decrypt it using the CA certificate. If it is not matching during the encryption, then the broker will not be able to decrypt it if it is the certificates are different, because broker is going to use the same certificate which it has given you for the particular instance of broker running there. So you have to make sure that this certificate is also updated and sent, given here. Now after all this, we need to now come to the main crux of the problem. Two things, there are two tasks running as I mentioned. On core 0, which is a protocol core, the MQTT task is running. We will first see the application task which is starting on when you upload a program. Before that, I just want to show you some interesting stuff which you should be aware of. If you are new to this environment, you will not be aware of this. So this is the manage libraries, which is for installing a particular library. Now this is what I mentioned, that ESP MQTT client that needs to be installed. So if you do the manage library, it will come here and you need to give that ESP32 and install it. I have right now installed the latest version, which is here. So I don't need to go to the lower versions of anything. So this is done, taken care of. When I do installation, it will ask you for pub sub client. You have to install both there. Now, how do I choose the board? Here, if you see, there is a board manager, and I have already chosen the ESP32 Dev Kit V1, which is on the video. There are empty number of Arduino boards and the ESP32 boards are supported, and you need to select this based on what board you have in ESP32. You can choose one of them, whatever you purchase or what you have with you. Most probably this software should run on other boards. I have not tested it on other board, but they are compatible. Unless the board that you have is less memory than what this code needs, then it may not be finally become linking it to the executable. This is the output that you get on compiling. So one more thing, let me show you on file preferences. This is the place wherein the Arduino related libraries are kept, and you can choose compilation option and upload option. It may not be default enabled, so that you will be able to view the outputs that are coming, so that it will be easier for you to debug your code when you are compiling it and trying to build it. And additional board packages, once you add the board package there, it will get added here. You don't need to do anything specifically here. And you can look at the directory where it is actually the Arduino libraries are installed. So let me go there and then show you what you need to be aware of. So documents, Arduino, this is the directory which is shown on the preferences. There are two things. If you go to libraries, if you install the library properly and it is successful, then you should see that library here, because during the time we installed both, you will be able to see both the entries here. That will make sure that these libraries are installed. And I have installed other libraries which you don't need to for this demo, so don't worry about that. Now this is where you will check your libraries. Arduino data gives you some other information. ESP32 tools, it has got the tool which is actually uploading the software onto the board, and you also have path where you can go and look at different libraries. You can see that there are Wi-Fi library, Wi-Fi client secure library which we are using here. You can look at the header files of those in case you want to know what are the options available, what are the functions are there. But make sure that you don't edit any of them, you don't make any changes to them. If you make, I would suggest that you copy this to some other directory if you are looking into the code, because by mistake if you change anything or delete something, then you have to reinstall the whole thing. So it is going to be dangerous doing it here, unless you are very careful that you don't edit it, or even if you edit it, don't save it. But there are some editors who do auto save, so don't rely on that. I suggest that if you are looking at it, you can copy it, or you need to be extra careful that you don't edit anything or save anything into it. So but it will be worthwhile to understand based on the need, if you want to know some different APIs which need to be used in your program. So if you want to extend it further, whatever I am showing you, you may have to go into these directories and look at the header files. Now let us come into the application. We are going to, as I mentioned, we are going to use the PubSub client for establishing the MQTT connection. And I am going to use one task I am creating. Other task is default, which is created on reboot, when you boot the board is booting up. So this is very important thing. The task that you create, you need to mention the stack size. Right now I have given 6,000. If you reduce it to 4,000, you will not be able to even run this code. What will happen is the code once you download it, it will start restarting continuously. So if the stack size is less, compilation will go through, because the compiler tool will not know how much of stack size is needed when the actual code is running on your processor. So you cannot expect a compilation error or a linker error if you reduce the size of the stack. It is going to be known during the runtime. So if you make a mistake of choosing a wrong smaller value, what will happen is it will start restarting and the code will never run. So this is one of the indication that your stack size may be less than what is needed. Now, how do you know that the stack size is growing? Because suppose you are changing the code that I'm giving, if you may add some more functions or multiple invocations you may do to add more features. In that case, the stack may grow, the function depth is going on, then you may get into trouble. So you need to be careful about it. I'm just creating some parameter to the task creation. I will explain you shortly, don't worry. Now this is the class, this is a class name, and this is the object. This is actually basically a C++ code, but you don't need to be an expert in C++, but you should have a little bit of knowledge on C++, so that you better understand the header files and the source files of the libraries. Even though you are writing a C code, the backend, whatever libraries are there, they are written in C++. So a good, if not good knowledge, but little bit of awareness of C++ syntax and the concept, it will be helpful for you to understand the library portion of the code. Now built-in LED is GPIO, it is pin number 2, and I will not explain everything. I want you to have some understanding of the code on yourself. This is the status topic I'm defining, and then these are the commands. I mentioned that different commands have different values, and the delays are having different things. Here everything is in millisecond because all the APIs needs the values in milliseconds, so I have given it in milliseconds. So 1 second, 3 second are the values, blinking rate, and controlling LED I am having one function, and the default value is 1 second delay. Now this is the setup function which you should know that an Arduino follows this convention that when the program starts running, the control comes here first. So the first thing you should do is make sure that the serial port is set up to a particular baud rate. I have set it up to this value, and how do you know whether it is okay or not? So if you open the serial monitor of this IDE, which is already there, open, it is, you have to make sure that this rate is same as this baud rate, because if it is not matching, this IDE expects your serial port output, which is coming onto the USB port only. Through USB port it is coming here, landing into a laptop. You will not be able to see anything on the screen. It will be scrambled funny characters that will be appearing. That is an indication that your baud rate is chosen wrong, or what you have set it up here is wrong. So by chance, if you are changing it, make sure that the serial monitor is also properly there. And you cannot change it to arbitrary values. It is one of the fixed values which you should know what should it be. But this is the ideal one which you can put it. Now one more thing I want to show you, that it is showing up COM8. How do you know that this particular instance is running on COM8? So that you can see that from this. So COM8 is chosen for this instance of IDE. You can have multiple IDE instances which may be connected onto multiple COM ports, different COM ports, connecting to different boards. So right now I'm running 2 boards. So one IDE instance is running on COM8, which is sensor 1. So sensor 1 is connected to this port, and that's what you are seeing here. Now after setting up this, what happens is you are setting the LED to an output mode, the built-in LED which you are controlling, and then we are making it a high so that it's on to start with. Then I create a task. As I mentioned, I can pin it to a particular core. So I am pinning the protocol stack which is going to run this MQTT task on core 0. Now there are different parameters which are commented here. You can just follow this convention. This is the task name, and this is the entry point where the function with this name will be called. So when this task is created, it is calling a function. It needs to be fed with a function. Now remember, the prototype of this function, MQTT task, is this. Another file I have given, it's void. That means this function should not return at all. Well, let me explain a little bit here, because this is the common mistake that people get into. This is a very important thing we should know. In ESP32, with the free RTOS, it is not always true that this is what happens in any RTOS. This is a typical combination wherein because if you see, the Linux has a int value which is returning some error value from the task. Different OS has a different conventions. So it's not uniform across all the OS. So here, as I mentioned, it is a free RTOS which is running, and it expects that entry point is a void, and then the task name, whatever task function, whatever is the entry point of the task, accepts only one parameter, which is a void star. So anything you can pass, any pointer to a structure, if you pass, you can pass multiple parameters to the task, or if you are passing on int star, then you are passing on integer value. So you have to make sure that that function what you write never returns. What I mean by that is task function, if you write it, you have to say some talks delete at the end. When it is reaching a end of the function, it should delete itself so that the task is getting deleted by calling a OS function. Or if it is supposed to be running forever, then you have to put it as a for loop empty control or a while one you have to have, so that it never comes out of this function. If it comes out, what happens is it will create an exception and the code will restart. And it may happen that only one core will not be running properly and the other core may be running. So there will be a confusion when one of the tasks running on a core is coming out and misbehaving. So you need to be careful about it. This is the client secure, which is for making a secure connection with the Wi-Fi. And this is where you will be creating a MQTT object. Now, these are the header files which are used for this task. Now, before I go into this, I want to just continue here. We came from here to explain about the task and then what happens with the task and what you need to take care here. And the stack size is here, which you are defining as a constant. Now, once this task is created, now this will come here and then starts running. Okay, MQTT will be running on core 0. It is running on core 0. So the control on core 1 now goes from setup to loop. So the control from setup after creating this task comes here, and this also runs parallelly. Because it's a dual core processor, remember that this code, there are two pieces of code which is running in parallel. One is, now you have created a task, so this will be running in parallel, this task on core 0, because you said that it has to be pinned to core 0, and default it is the task which is, now this whole thing which is running, the setup itself is a task, is default it is running on core 1. So now there are two things which are running in parallel. Now after the setup is run, it is completed. Now internally it is calling this loop function repeatedly. So it is going to call this loop function multiple times in a for loop. So you can assume that after the setup is done, it will be only in this loop. This task which is running on core 1, the main task, you can call it as a main task, is going to be only within the loop. You can be rest assured, unless you create another task from here and then go somewhere. Whereas this task which is created is running on a different core on core 0. Now this task which is going to be calling this loop continuously is meant for controlling the LED. So I am getting some publish delay. I am computing it because I need to compute a 5-second delay. But I also make sure that LED has to be blinking at different rate based on the command. So I am using the sleep delay for a minute control, and the publish delay is more than the sleep delay. So they need to be related based on whether you want to blink fast or slow. This is going to be waking up based on that rate. But publish should not happen more often. I want to make sure that it is happening only on 5-second duration. So there is some logic which I have put in, which you can understand easily. So what I do, whenever I want to publish, I want to make sure that I increment a count, so that you see that there is a count value which is getting incremented every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This count is actually getting corrected here. So 7 and then 8, what is happening is because of this incrementing of this count, status count. I make sure that it is run within 10 loops. Then I publish it. I create a message which is to be sent using this buffer, and I am filling the buffer using SN printf, which is accepting. You can Google for this syntax. I am constructing a string of that status by feeding in two values and creating a string, and then I am passing that whole thing into a TCP connection, so that client publish will send it across to the broker. So it is sending the topic. This is the topic SNS status topic, and on this message buff, whatever is the content which I have created here, and the length of that. So this is a API which is used for sending it to the MQTT broker. This client object is a MQTT broker, MQTT object here, which I created here in the setup, which I have not done it here. I will be doing it on the task, MQTT task. Okay. Now, what happens here is we publish it very often based on the rate, and then I also control the LED, because this is a new command which is getting updated by the task on the running on the other core is getting reflected here in this variable, which I am copying it because I don't want to access this variable more often. So I take it from once and then use it locally. If at all during this time, if another command has come, it will be taken in the next iteration. So there may be a little bit of delay because two different tasks are handling it. New command is getting updated based on the command which is received from the broker on the task which is running on the different core MQTT task. So it is updating this variable, and the core 1 task, which is this code which you are seeing, is reading it and then going to control the LED. Now this function is a simple logic. I get the command. If it is off, I switch off the LED, and then command I change it to LED off, because I'll tell you if there is a change, previous value will be different. So we have to make sure that this command is taken care of. And I blink it fast. The rate I am changing it. The sleep delay I have to change it here. In case of on and off, there is no blinking rate involved because it is going to be permanently on or off. So I don't change the sleep delay. But if it is a blinking, I need to change the sleep delay also, which I am changing it here. You will be able to understand this logic. It's not very complex. And if it is on or off, then I don't need to alternate the LEDs. Otherwise, I need to, if it is not, then I need to alternate it. That means I need to make sure that I maintain the state of the previous value. So I use the LED stat for that, a variable, local variable, and then I alternate it for the as much of delay as I want. So if it is in a fast blink fast, it will continue to be blink fast, and that rate it will be changing the LEDs control. So this is the main task, which is controlling the LED and reading the command from the other task and then performing the job. I hope this is clear. Now let us go to the task which is running on the other core, which is MQTT task. Now here only we are really creating the objects to establish the connection with the broker. Now first thing is, with the Wi-Fi we need to create an object of secure Wi-Fi client, because we need a secure connection with the broker, and then use that object which is ESP client. This is the class name and this is the object which is created, and that is getting passed to the client object of publish subscribe client. So this is the MQTT protocol is taken care of by this, and underneath Wi-Fi is taken care of by this. That's why we are creating the underneath Wi-Fi object, because it has to use the Wi-Fi to communicate with the PubSub MQTT broker. So we need to create this first and pass it on to this object, so that if you are successful in Wi-Fi client, then you can start the communication with the broker. So we pass some parameter just to while creating the task, and then I am having multiple functions. Let me explain what are they. This is the function which is taking care of the connection with the MQTT broker running on the Hive MQ. And this is the function which is getting called if a message is received from the other end. That means as a publisher has sent a message to the broker and broker is sending it to the ESP32 board, it is getting received by this task which is running on this core 0, which is a protocol core. Then we need to process the message and then create a command. So that creating a command is done here, but processing the message from the MQTT client is done here. From the broker, whatever is coming, that message is getting processed. So this is actually part of the library which we are calling here. Okay. And this is my code, which after getting the message, actual message, what a string of values on or off or whatever, we are creating a command which is one of these values I mentioned. One of these values, we are mapping the string what we are getting from the broker into one of these values. So which is done by the process message. Now these are the SNS control 1 and client ID. So remember, this is the SNS1 software. If you are copying it and then creating another instance of SNS2, you need to make sure that these values are changed, because the client ID needs to be different, because all other credentials are same. If you multiple clients with the same client ID is trying to communicate with the broker will reject the connection. So you have to make sure that even though same software is running, but they need to give different client IDs to the broker so that the broker knows that it can maintain the information about the different clients, so that when a publisher is sending any command, it will be able to send it to the particular client. So they should know, broker should know different clients with the different client IDs. So you have to change this also if you are creating another instance of this software running on another client. And the rest of it is, this is the command on off which you saw that I was giving, is defined here. And these are the commands which are going to the other task which is controlling the LED. Now coming to the main job, MQTT task, which is the entry point of your task creation. Now as soon as the task is created, we are printing this parameter which is coming in just to verify that okay, it is created properly and the parameter is going in properly. And then the first job is to create, and the Wi-Fi is already created, right? Wi-Fi object is created. Now I am just printing the variable which I have set it up on my Wi-Fi credentials. I'm printing it here, and then actually Wi-Fi connection happens here. The Wi-Fi begin, and we are passing the SSID and the password to that so that it can communicate with the Wi-Fi and get registered. Now it looks at the status. If it is not successful, it is waiting for some time, 500 millisecond, and then again tries to see that it gets connected. So this gets into the loop until the connection is successful with the Wi-Fi. It will not come down. So you can have different printf to verify whether where is the problem when you are debugging your code. And then once it is successful, I am just printing the local IP of what I have got from my router. And then once you are ahead and clear with the Wi-Fi connection, now you are ready to establish a TCP connection, TLS connection with the broker, which is running on the Hive MQ. So we have already created the ESP client, which is nothing but the Wi-Fi client secure. We have to pass a CA certificate, which is required for that to encrypt whatever data it is sending. So we are passing that, and it's an array character pointer. So what you have created here in the CA certificate file, this array is getting passed here, pointed to that a string is passed. And then we are actually getting a connection. Now domain is nothing but the name that we got from the broker. Now let me show you the domain where I am initializing it. So this is the broker details. domain is getting initialized here. This is what we got it from the broker. Now this is same as this value, okay, which is running there, broker's domain name, which is nothing but the actual, it will get the actual IP address. I will show you. It will get the actual IP address of the broker, and it has also got a IoT and username which is there. Now let us come back. This domain is taken from there, and the port ID. Port ID is defined here. TLS port ID is 8083, and if you are making a plain MQTT, you can use this. I'm using this. So these need to be passed to establish a connection with the broker. Now I'm setting up the call function. Now actually we are not connecting here. We are just setting up the values before we really get connected, and then connected is what is getting connected here, and we have to get a set callback also, so that when you receive a message, we have something to do with what we need to do with the message that we receive. We need to give a function which will be called by the library. So we have to pass the function, and then as I mentioned, this task should be in a for loop, infinite loop. Once it has established the connection, even if it will get disconnected, it will be taken care of by this function. So we have set up the information what is needed. So we don't need to do this again. Even if broker is disconnected from the client, all the information is already there. So we are seeing the connected. If it is not connected, then it will not come out. If there is a failure, then it will get MQTT connect. So this is checking whether the client is connected or not. If not, it is going to call the MQTT connect. This is where the connection happens. This is all where you are just setting up the information what is needed for the connection to happen. So first time when it is coming in, it wouldn't have been connected. So it will directly come here and call the MQTT connect. We will go and see what is going there. After that, we see any message has come. So this will be polled. It will be polling the receiver portion of the library. If a subscriber, this subscriber which is running on this ESP32 has received some message from some publisher, broker would have sent it and it would have received it and it would land here. So that is getting checked here. Now one more important thing, we need to give a task delay of some 10 millisecond or a small amount, because this is completely running forever. Okay, this is keep on polling it whether connection is okay, any message is there. This is continuously running. But if you run a task without giving a control back to the OS, the FreeRTOS here ported to the ESP32 expects that you give a control back to the OS at least within some watchdog timer time delay. It would have been set to some value, which is also a configurable value. If the task is continuously running, the OS will assume that there is some error which has happened in the task and it has gone into infinite loop. So it is not getting the control back to the OS. So it will restart the core. Remember, this is running on core 0, and OS, which is in the background, which is also taking care of whether both the cores are getting a control back to the OS or not, giving the control back to the OS or not. If it is not, the timer will run out and it will create an interrupt, and the ISR of the timer will restart the code. So you need to keep the OS happy so that this watchdog timer exception doesn't come up. So you need to take care of this if your code is running forever without giving the control to the OS. Now, how do you give a control to the OS? Any task, any delay or anything that you do, which is a FreeRTOS OS call, then this watchdog timer will be reset. If you don't do it, then only it's a problem. Here you can see that none of the code is actually giving a control back to the OS. It's all library code, which is nothing but somebody has written the library and they are doing something specific to the process, particular processing of MQTT messages. So it is nothing to do with the OS. So we need to give a one function at least which is calling the OS call. Whereas we didn't do this here because this loop is also going on indefinitely, but this is getting called by another task internally, not that this is completely given off control, because this function is itself is called by another function which is internally written by the Arduino before porting this soft ESP32 to the Arduino IDE. And moreover, we also have a delay function which is a function call to the OS. So you don't need a specific function call like this in the other task. So to summarize, this is how the connection is happening with the MQTT, and it will run you continuously. Now let us look at the MQTT connect, which I said that which is making a real connection with the broker. Now this is in a while loop. Until the connection happens, it is going to run. It's not the infinite loop until reconnected. Okay, so once you come to connect, it will be making sure that it gets connected, otherwise it will be in the loop. So unless the connection happens, it will be in a loop because it's a while loop, it's not a if loop, if condition. And that means if there is a problem failure, it will continue to try and then connect it. Now that cannot be done immediately, so you need to give some delay, because if you do continuously, you will be continuously sending a message, connect message to the broker, and broker will think that it is like somebody is spamming the server, and it may disconnect the connection. It will not honor the connection. So you need to give some delay for the other end also to realize that it is some valid software is running on this end. So you need to give some delay before you connect it, otherwise it will be a continuous strain on your network also, and on your ESP32 side also. And then what you do, once it is not connected, you send a connect message. This is what happens, similar to what you do on the command line window. I showed you that connect message is sent. So what you need to send is the client ID. As I mentioned, that you need to send a different client ID and username, password, which we are setting it up as IoT, Molly IoT, and test 1234 in this case. So these two are sent for connection. Now once the connection is established, successful, then I want to subscribe, because this is going to be waiting for a subscribe message. So I am saying that I want to subscribe to this control. In case if you are having a connection failed, then it comes here and then it waits for some fixed amount of time and then it goes there. What happens when the message comes? Callback function will be called. So actually when message is there, we need to somehow pass on that information to the other task. So that will happen only when you have a control on what you should do with the message. Once this function is getting called, it will be changing the command, new command variable, which is getting updated, so that this task can be getting the information and then it can go ahead and do the rest of the thing. So remember, this is running on different core and this is running on different core, and it is continuously checking on this new command which is getting updated by this callback function. This callback function is not called by you directly, it is internally called after you subscribe it, because it is getting called internally by the library. What it should do after the payload has been received is what you are writing here. So based on the length of the payload, I am trying to extract the command and processing it. So this code takes care of that. Now it is copying the message and then it's just printing it just for our information. We process the message. Now process message is receiving the payload, whatever is being sent by the broker, and I am verifying that it is more than the length. I am reducing it to only what is allowed to be copied, because this message is limited, the buffer is limited. If there is an error and the user is giving you hundreds of maybe transferring a file, then our software should not break down. So I am limiting it and then checking whether what I am receiving is a valid one of the valid commands or not, then updating the values of the command. Now one of these command will go there, will be received by this, and then LED will be controlled. This is how the whole software is running. I hope this is clear now. Even if it is not very clear based on the explanation, you should be able to read the code, understand it yourself, and then look at my explanation. I'm pretty sure you will be able to do that. And I am happy to help you in case you have any trouble. Send me a mail, and I have my email ID given here. I'm very happy to share this with you. I urge you to download the code from the link that I will be providing on GitHub, and then you can compile it and run it on your board. If you succeed in this, you have a program which is running on your ESP32, which can be controlled from anywhere in the world. And your imagination is the limit to use this code for enhancing the application. All the very best. Bye bye.